All right, so I want to welcome JT to the chat. JT, why don't you spend like 30 seconds just explaining what you do on a daily basis, who you work for, and kind of like what your adventure in the Microsoft world is.
Thanks, Ernie. Yeah, my name is Jan-Tore, JT for short, as Ernie said. I'm a principal consultant for a small company here in Norway called Spearhead. Not the American way of saying it, but without the E and the A. I work mainly with Azure Hybrid, meaning Azure stuff, but also on-prem with Azure Stack HCI and other, Microsoft on-prem products like Windows Server and Virtual Machine Manager and so on. Yeah. So, and I mainly do consultancy for private companies and public sector. Yeah, that's about it. And I'm also a Azure MVP within the hybrid space and a cloud and data center MVP as well.
Perfect. That's exactly what I was going to say. So like JT and I have known each other for years, but we both are Microsoft MVPs. So like we happen to, you know, we have this interaction with Microsoft Product Group that a lot of non-MVPs, so just general public, basically don't have access to, and that allows us to have a very unique relationship with Microsoft and the individual product owners behind the scenes there. So awesome. Thank you for the brief introduction. What I wanted to talk about today, since this is a topic on all things Microsoft Ignite that's going on right now, I wanted to talk about like the big bang news that Bernardo mentioned earlier. That's about the rebrand. So we've been using the term Azure Stack HCI since goodness, what, 2018, 2019, and
was it May 2019? I don't remember.
I think it might have been Ignite. I think it might have been Ignite 2019 in Orlando.
Yeah, so they announced it, I think, in the May of 2019, and then they officially launched it at Orlando in 2019 with 20H2 as the first OS version.
Right. So like just as a quick recap, you had your Storage Spaces Direct product that was built into the Windows SKU. Windows Server SKU, and then you had kind of like a rebrand of that program, which used to be the WSSD program, was rebranded as Azure Stack HCI, which had minimal to no relation to Azure itself. And then you had in 2019, 2020-ish, a new product launch, which everyone is now familiar with, known as Azure Stack HCI, which was a fork or separate OS SKU, if you will, with added features that everyone has been familiar with. And then in 23H2, so the most recent, earlier this year in calendar year 24, you had not just the name didn't change right away, but the actual way the solution was provided to you changed. So you weren't just installing an OS and calling it a day. Now you have a whole bunch of other features. And the big news is it is not called that anymore. It is now called Azure Local. So congratulations, Microsoft. We have a new terminology and a boatload of web pages to update everywhere. So
I'm not updating my previous blog post. There'll still be Azure Stack HCI there, but yeah.
Right.
But Microsoft has.
They got a lot of work cut out for them. Let's just first reactions. Like when you heard this name change, what was your immediate thought? Like what went through your brain?
It was a little bit of a shock, to be honest, because but also the fact that it's so short. I was like, what? That's like okay.
Yeah.
But then I started thinking about it, and I started discussing with other MVPs, and it started to kind of fit more and more. It says Azure Local, which is what it is. It's Azure in your own data center, your local data center. So it kind of fits pretty good. And I also heard a few other name pitches, and they are not well. There was a few really bad ones, and this one was, as far as I know, pretty good. So yeah, but I think it will make it more easier for clients to understand what it is. It's it's Azure, it's locally in your data center, with the hardware that you want to run. So it feels strange, but I think it'll be a very good design change of the name.
I think there's. Sorry, I didn't mean to jump in there. What were you gonna say?
No, go ahead.
I think there's a couple different. My reaction is I think there's a couple different reasons why they're doing this. Obviously, it's a very, very long thing to say Azure Stack HCI. Like that's a mouthful. That takes up, a lot of characters. Azure Local is quick, boom, boom, boom. It feels like how AWS has their Outpost solution, where it's a locally deployed appliance, a solution, whatever term you want to call it. So I understand the marketing innuendos that they're going with there, but like you alluded to, it's also based on the hardware you want to run and how you run it locally, and that to me is the most critical part of this. The term Azure Stack HCI, like we said earlier, was coined 5-6 years ago for basically a rebrand of Storage Spaces Direct, which was a hyper-converged infrastructure solution, which is where we got HCI from. But we're seeing what is now Azure Local kind of pivot in its storage backend and scale. Like you used to have this multi-node 12 drive, 24 drive, 60 bay JBOD thing that was, for running VMs. And now you're seeing it kind of collapse down into smaller IoT types of things, maybe local storage, non-scaled storage, single node solutions, or maybe you want to attach it to a SAN, right? And that makes sense.
Because with NVMe over Fabric and so on, it's naturally that, and with that, it's not only a hyper-converged solution anymore. It will be the main storage, as far as I understand. You can't really build it with just a SAN fabric. You need the local storage as well. But yeah, it's and there are other things coming as well that makes it really makes it a really good reason for why they are rebranding it, and also the fact that they're now going away from Edge, calling it an Edge product. That is also what really ticks me as well, is the fact that Azure Stack HCI is an Edge product, and I've been like, no, it's not. It's a data center project. So yeah.
I know you've been very passionate about that, and that's like there's two ways to look at that. The first way is what you just described. It is used at scale in the data center, right? I am where I use it. I have currently 9 clusters deployed with 3 to 4 nodes each. So that is not a edge solution. That's not what you run in your retail store. That's a data center. I have racks of this stuff. And I'm sure you've seen customers of yours feel that same way too. So it's not just the nomenclature there that doesn't make sense, but also the term edge is related to an old product that Microsoft sold that is kind of not a thing anymore. Maybe not, but like it's certainly not getting the love that maybe they would have gotten years ago. And that's the other part of this. Azure Local isn't just a local solution that you can run in your data center or in your closet or whatever, but it can also be a disconnected solution too. And that's the other big part of this announcement that Bernardo brought up, the disconnected solution for Azure Local, which is exactly what it sounds like. You will be able to run workloads without having that cluster, that solution phoning home to Azure, and you're still able to have billing and attestation and Azure services running in your data center. Tell me what that looks like to you and your customers.
Well, it depends on the client, but for the majority, not a lot, I would guess, because most can do Azure, and we even have larger health corporations now. They're going full Azure. They have an Azure first strategy, but for those that run even more sensitive information and or need to run without connected to Azure for a period of time, that's a good solution because it gives them, the features they need and gives them access to Azure Stack HCI and those and the benefit of running that OS or Azure Local. Sorry, I'm still it's still taking a time to get used to the new name, but But I had a discussion with a client the other day about similar things, and for them it was like they run an OT environment. They are connected all around the world, and none of those environments are disconnected in a way that, but they do have certain factories that needs to run, even though they have an outage, and one of their factories is actually in North Carolina where the hurricane hit, and they still don't have internet connection. So, but that means but then again, will it still run? Yes, without an internet connection for a normal Azure Local that is connected to Azure. You just have to do something when it comes back up again to reconnect it. So. But yes, I see for certain industries, for certain public sectors, this will be interesting, like police, military, and others, even the health sector, where they have even stricter policies than we do have in Norway, because they started doing Azure in like 2018 in the public sector in Norway. So yeah.
No, it's definitely it's going to be a niche use case, which is what we saw with the Azure Hub customer base too. And there's definitely going to need to be, I don't want to say like operator certification for it, but there's going to have to be people who are deploying this. You're not just going to do it on your own unless you're somehow like super savvy, but there's going to have to be a whole process involved to even be able to deploy.
Yeah. But if we're going to do a comparison, it's more similar to Azure Pack that we had with the WAP and everything previously, and the adoption rate. It's not like you have to buy a stack, and that is you do not have access to the back end where somebody else has to do it. You can implement it. We don't know how it will be implemented yet, or who will be able to do it, but it will be more similar to what Azure Pack was in the form of connectivity and being able to modify it yourself or doing things in the backend. So
it also opens up the door to more vendors to be able to sell the hardware at the end of the day, because if no one's familiar with this, the Azure Hub solution or Azure Stack Hub solutions, very, very limited vendors, very, very small teams running those programs, very strict certification process for that hardware, and even the upgrade process to move on every couple months, 6 months, whatever it is, to go to the new builds of Azure Stack Hub. This makes that a little bit more unified.
Yeah, and the big difference between Hub and the new offline connectivity solution, which we don't really know the name of yet. What the final name will be is that Azure Stack Hub, all the features are built by the Hub team and not just branched off the main builds from Azure, which is what the new solution is. It's basically taking the same code as they're using it in Azure, and so it's much easier to move or bring more services and keep it up to date as Azure goes. Meaning ARM and Bicep will basically be the same thing on Azure and this new product.
The other part of that is the number of services that are going to be available day one. So we already know don't expect day one this Azure Local disconnected solution to be able to run crazy weird workloads that you see in Azure, like communication services or Azure Front Door or WAF and App Gateway. Like, you're not going to expect those day ones, but you are going to see things like Key Vault. You are going to see things that generally are already available on Azure Local or Azure Stack HCI now, like Azure Kubernetes Services, AVD, which I don't know if AVD is going to actually make it into the disconnected solution. I have my own opinions if that's necessary, but I'm sure some psychopath out there would love it.
I with what's happening with what's happened with VMware and what's happening with Citrix as well, I think there is a huge market for it because I've heard clients wanting to move away from Citrix and Horizon now. So and if they can do and the scenario for disconnected AVD is quite huge because Azure can be down. And what is that impact on a client for, let's say Enter ID is down for like 12 hours during your workday. That's a huge impact for the world.
Or just front door or anything like that. But that is a good point. Like those are, I think it's important to note, like just to get into the juice and like the sausage making here. Like there are prerequisites that need to be hit. That's the one thing I want to bring up here. Like there's a subset of things that you're going to see day one on the disconnected solution, a subset of things that you're going to see there that are a subset of what you have on Azure Stack HCI or any or Azure Local, which themselves are a subset of features that you have in the broader Azure public cloud. So like from the top down, you're gonna have the most capabilities in Azure Cloud, then Azure Local, and then Azure Local disconnected, right? Like opt done. Like no one's not gonna get that.
Correct.
But in order for you to get things like AVD lit up on Azure Local disconnected, the bottommost of that pyramid, you need things like front door or some kind of load balancing that doesn't even exist on Azure Local yet. So there's this whole prereq thing that like log analytics and all those other things that need to come to fruition first. And that's what I'm getting at. Like, if these are things that people want, they need to be very, very vocal about it. Do not expect it just to show up magically. So one thing I want people to get out of this, like be vocal, get on the forums and make it be as loud as you can about those things.
Yeah, and it will start as a private preview. And then go over to a public preview, and I don't expect it to be GA. Maybe I would say probably GA Ignite 27. I think next year will be 26.
26.
I think 26, 27, 25 will most likely see the public preview or close to Ignite next year. And then as I said as well, it's quite limited right now. So like basic monitoring, basic features for certain things like alerting is not there, Azure Monitor is not there, but these are things that, like Ernie said, things that the more votes or more feedback of the features that we need. Will be quite helpful for the Microsoft team in prioritizing the different things to prioritize what to use or develop. For me, it's simple. It's I need all the monitoring stuff, all the alerting stuff, all the basic features of running Azure Local on-prem in a disconnected scenario, because clients will need these things, but they will be there. It'll just take a little bit of time, and then again, it also depends on the scenario, right? Because right now it's a one VM running everything, and how do you scale it? Depending on the size of the deployment from the client and so on. So it's you can bring as much as you can, but like Azure Front Door, it requires a cluster that is to just bring it up in one location. It requires a lot of hardware. Same with SQL, certain SQL things and so on. It's quite it does require quite a lot of resources to bring it up. So they need to limit that as well.
Absolutely. And that is just to reiterate, these things you're not going to see day one or day 100 without understanding that there are ramifications for running them. So like there's if you've never looked at Hub, the reason why Hub is such a beast and has like strict hardware requirements is because it is this scaled out multi-fault domain deployment of these things that are Azure native. So you're going to see stuff that lives in Hub that already exists in Hub. You're not going to see some of those things day one in Azure Local disconnected or disaggregated or whatever they're going to call it. So Hub isn't going to go away. I think you're going to see Hub on life support for a while. I would probably say you're not going to see new stuff in Hub though going forward.
Well, there are benefits of running Hub still for certain scenarios, and I think they will still be there. But as you and I agree that the Azure Local disconnected scenario will be more and more appetizing for those also running Hub, because they have a better options of getting hardware. The different vendors, as right now there are like 4 of them that are doing Azure Stack Hub, but yes, and like I said, the previews will be a long time. So I think they will release new things step by step, and then listen to what people say, what the MVP say, and what the public say, and then decide on what kind of features are they going to release at what intervals. But yes. But we will see. It's quite an interesting product. It will still be a niche thing, but yeah. But then again, also just to say that the licensing on it as well is really nice, because it's you have to either prepay and upload information, or pay month by month, as far as I understand. As you upload data, you take out the billing information and then upload it to Azure to get
kind of like it's like a sneaker net thing where you have like a key exchange on a USB thumb drive to get like an XML encoded thing to exchange. So I mean, we can spend, when we get more information on that, when it kind of gets fleshed out, and I'm sure it's going to change at some point because someone's going to hate it and cry about it. So
absolutely.
Yeah, that's going to be, we could talk about that probably for hours. So we'll definitely have another technical conversation one day about that. But cool. Some exciting stuff in the future. There's so much more that's going to be announced and coming out. So maybe we'll chat again in the next couple days and drop another one of these quick little recap videos. Real quick, how was the Chicago Bulls game last night? They lost, right? I'm pretty sure they lost.
Oh yeah. They lost big time, 137-107, I think.
Oh God.
So it's it wasn't good. First quarter they were even, 27-26.
Okay.
To the Rockets, but you can see the quality difference as the second and third and fourth quarter
sure
went out.
All right, man.
Yeah.
I'll chat with you soon. Thanks again for everything.
You're welcome.
Enjoy your rest of the time there. All right.
I'll try. It's difficult doing that in the US, right? It's
I know.
For a foreigner, it's difficult having a good time in the US. But
yeah. All right, dude.
We'll
I'll
see.
talk to you later.
I'll talk to you later. Cheers. Bye.